For decades, most people believed that the electric vehicle revolution began the moment Tesla stepped into the spotlight. The sleek design of the Roadster, the disruptive launch of the Model S, and the bold personality of Elon Musk created the impression that Tesla single-handedly reshaped the entire EV landscape. But the real story stretches far beyond the famous brand. It's a story full of forgotten pioneers, suppressed technologies, early breakthroughs, and a century-long battle between innovation and the powerful industries that tried to control it. To understand how EVs truly evolved, we need to travel back much further than Silicon Valley, to the earliest days of the automobile itself, long before lithium-ion batteries and modern charging networks ever existed. When the automotive world was still in its infancy, electric vehicles weren't an exotic concept reserved for the future. In fact, by the late 1800s and early 1900s, they were surprisingly common engineers like Thomas Parker in England, and companies like the American Electric Vehicle Company were already building electric models capable of silent, smooth, and relatively reliable transportation. They were easier to operate than gasoline cars, didn't require hand cranking, and didn't smell like fuel or smoke. In major cities, electric taxis transported passengers through busy streets decades before internal combustion engines dominated the market. Even Ferdinand Porsche, long before founding his famous brand in Germany, designed the world's first functional hybrid car in 1901, using both electric motors and a gasoline engine to extend range. The idea behind the plug-in hybrid existed over a century before Toyota and Chevrolet marketed it as something new. So why didn't electric vehicles take over back then? The answer involves economics, infrastructure, and timing. Gasoline became incredibly cheap once oil production scaled up, and the discovery of vast petroleum reserves encouraged rapid investment in combustion engines. Meanwhile, electricity was not yet widely available. Charging at home was impossible for many households, and long-distance travel was nearly unthinkable. The convenience and affordability of gasoline crushed the early EV industry long before battery technology had time to evolve. By the 1920s, mass production of combustion engines, led by companies like Ford, sealed the fate of electric cars for nearly a century. EVs disappeared almost completely, becoming a footnote in automotive history. But the idea never died. Throughout the 20th century, engineers continued experimenting with battery-powered cars. In the 1960s and 1970s, rising environmental concerns and oil crises reignited interest in cleaner alternatives. Automakers built prototypes, and some even released limited production electric vehicles. General Motors created the Electrovare and Electrovet concepts. NASA used electric lunar rovers on the surface of the moon. But battery technology remained too limited for mass adoption. Range was short, charging was slow, and performance lagged far behind gasoline cars. When oil prices stabilized, momentum faded again, and combustion engines continued to dominate. Everything changed in the 1990s when California passed its zero-emission vehicle mandate, forcing automakers to produce cleaner cars. This led to one of the most important and controversial vehicles in EV history. The GM EV1, sleek, futuristic, and purely electric, the EV1 quickly developed a cult following among early adopters. Drivers praised its quiet operation, impressive acceleration, and smooth ride. Some described it as a car from the future. But this is also where the story takes a darker turn. Despite passionate support from owners, GM abruptly ended the program, recalled every EV1, and destroyed almost all of them. Many believe the decision was influenced by oil companies and internal resistance to change. The EV1 became a symbol of lost potential, a reminder that the electric revolution could have started decades earlier. Its disappearance created a vacuum in the industry, a vacuum that Tesla would eventually fill. When Tesla Motors was founded in 2003, the company was not yet the giant we know today. It was a tiny startup, built by a group of engineers who were convinced that electric cars could outperform gasoline vehicles if given the right technology and support. They weren't the first to think this way, but they were among the first to aggressively pursue it. At a time when most companies had abandoned the idea, their weapon of choice was the lithium-ion battery, which was mainly used in laptops and portable devices. While risky and expensive, lithium-ion cells offered energy density that older battery chemistries couldn't match. Instead of building a cheap, slow, low-range EV like many automakers attempted in the past, Tesla aimed for something radical, a high-performance electric sports car. This became the Tesla Roadster, launched in 2008. The Roadster didn't sell in giant numbers, but it proved two important things. Electric cars could be exciting, and battery technology had finally caught up with the dream, with its 0 to 60 acceleration rivaling supercars and a range no other EV had ever reached. The Roadster generated the momentum Tesla needed to grow. This eventually led to the Model S, which redefined what an electric luxury sedan could be. It wasn't just fast and efficient, it was packed with cutting-edge software, over-the-air updates, and a minimalist interior that made traditional automakers look outdated. Tesla's supercharger network further accelerated adoption by solving one of the biggest problems in EV history: charging infrastructure. But while Tesla transformed the public perception of EVs and forced the entire industry to respond, it's essential to understand that the foundation had been laid long before battery research from universities, government-funded programs, aerospace advancements, and early electric car experiments all paved the way for what Tesla would ultimately execute. The company's true impact wasn't inventing electric vehicles. It was making them desirable on a global scale. Tesla modernized the dream, marketed it aggressively, wrapped it in compelling technology, and brought it into mainstream conversation. But the pioneers who built the first electric taxis, the engineers behind the EV1, the teams who experimented with solar charging, hydrogen fuel cells, and alternative drivetrains, they all played roles in the story that the world often forgets. Today, almost every major automaker is investing heavily in electric vehicles. Companies like Ford, GM, Volkswagen, Hyundai, BYD, Rivian, and Lucid are racing to catch up or push forward. Battery prices are dropping, charging networks are expanding, and renewable energy is becoming more accessible. Nations are beginning to ban new combustion engine cars in the coming decades. The transition to electric mobility is accelerating faster than any technological shift in automotive history. While Tesla undeniably sparked the modern revolution, it stands on the shoulders of over a century of innovation. The real story of EVs isn't about one company. It's about a long journey filled with breakthroughs, failures, forgotten inventions, and persistent visionaries who refuse to let the idea die.
As viewers follow this story, it becomes clear that the electric revolution wasn't born overnight, and it certainly wasn't created by a single company. Instead, it's a global narrative shaped by countless minds across generations. Tesla may have changed the world's perception, but the truth is far richer, deeper, and more fascinating. And now, as the race toward a renewable, sustainable future intensifies, understanding where EVs truly came from helps us understand where they're going next.